I don't think there's anybody more disgusting than Stephen Miller. And Pumps and I, for a long, long time, had Ted Cruz at the #1 point position in that. And Stephen Miller out crazies, out disgusts, even Raphael, even lying Ted. And so here's Stephen Miller, you guys, and this guy could not get elected to anything. He is that unlikable. Even Trump himself says, you wouldn't believe what he says in private, like how deranged this man is. Here he is talking about his little personal Gestapo squad and saying that they have absolute immunity. ICE. Play the clip.
But what we need to reassure a couple points to all ICE officers. You have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling.
Okay, I've heard enough. I've heard enough.
It's just appalling.
This is #1, not true.
Not true.
#2, the dehumanizing, calling people illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, is something Republicans have done for a very long time. And then leftist agitators and insurrectionists. And I want to remind you, the insurrectionists are these Republicans. The domestic terrorists have historically been right-wingers. No matter how much they lie about all of this, the facts are the facts. And the data is the data. And for him to say, #1, flirting with arresting J.B. Pritzker is insanity. But for him to say that ICE agents have immunity goes against the very heart of what democracy is. And it is that the law applies to everybody. If you are a law enforcement agent and you go outside your bounds of duty and you abuse somebody, you beat somebody, you yourself can be arrested. And this is something that this MAGA movement is desperately trying to reverse. There is their message to America is there are a group of us, starting from Kanks all the way down to the guy that can't do 10 push-ups in a row that was, a complete deadbeat who now works for ICE because he's a racist. We get to do whatever we want to do with reckless disregard of how it impacts society or if it breaks the law. And everybody else has to bend the knee to us. That's the message, the overarching message from this authoritarian regime.
I completely agree. And I think that he is trying to, delude ICE officers into taking to another level the agitation and the conflict with protesters and law enforcement, because he wants a huge dust up in the streets. He wants to make it look like it's a war. But let me tell you something. Everything he just said was a lie. These men can go to jail and be arrested just like anybody else. And even by some bizarre chance that Pam Bondi kisses Trump's ass and doesn't arrest and prosecute these people, they can be arrested and prosecuted in state court. And what Stephen Miller is doing, I find it to be the most vile, because he is trying to turn Americans against each other in service of dear leader. And it is absolutely sickening.
Okay, and then let's just take a listen to what Stephen Miller and Donald Trump, the MAGA Christians, what they have in store for their victims. And here is Congressman Krishnamurti on an 18-year-old assaulted by ICE.
Mr. Benito, in my district, Evelyn, an 18-year-old U.S. citizen, was dragged out of a car in the village of Hoffman Estates and tackled by ICE agents because she was documenting ICE's actions. A video shows her yelling, quote, "I'm not resisting," as an officer slams her down and puts his knee on her neck. One of the most graphic scenes I've seen. Mr. Benito, this kind of harsh treatment of young people, especially non-white residents, has been common in ICE's treatment of local residents, correct?
That's correct.
And DHS tried to cover up this video, falsely claiming that it was not even ICE. That was false, correct, Mr. Benito?
That's correct.
Let's be clear. When ICE and DHS target citizens and silence witnesses, it betrays the trust they're meant to protect.
Okay, so this is an 18-year-old that ended up with a knee on her neck because they are recruiting the worst of the worst. And here's another video right here where ICE agents are zip tying children. They're targeting schools and zip tying children. Play the clip.
Joe and Erica, we are told 4 students were together at the time, but one of those students never made it here to school today. One of the students apparently detained in Little Village by federal officers. Another apparently hurt in a scuffle with those same officers. Part of this caught on camera.
He's a kid! He's a kid! He's a kid!
On social media, neighbors sharing this video of what is believed to be a junior from Benito Juarez fighting to get out of the hands of federal agents this morning in Little Village. Chicago teachers and city leaders tell us 4 students were on their way to school here in Pilsen when they got a rapid response call about federal officials at the Discount Shopping Center off of 27th in Little Village. City leaders say the students went to help protest and showed up to a large crowd there. Video shows a confrontation between multiple federal agents and the student, a crowd surrounding them.
Okay. So you hear them saying, it's a kid, it's a kid. These are kids. These are high school kids. And I just have a question to all of the MAGA Christians out there. Like, do you only care about your kids and you don't care about humanity in total? Like all kids, or some kids in your mind deserving of preferential treatment and other kids deserving of cruelty? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like MAGA Christians feel like their kids, their husbands, their families are more important than everybody else's. And they put a cross on and they Christian signal that they are good people, good church going people, good Bible reading folk. And then they are completely fine with ICE officers putting their knee on an 18-year-old girl's neck and zip tying children on their way to school. And I want to remind everybody, this is the United States of America. And I'm not a Christian and I've never been a religious person, but I thought you were supposed to love your neighbor. I thought you were supposed to be welcoming to your neighbor. And I think it's a real window into the soul of any government. And I'm looking at Israel, I'm looking at Russia, and I'm looking at the United States of America. Any government that has government sanctioned abuse of children, maiming of children, harming of children, it's a real window into that nation's soul and the leaders that support that. And this is a real time for a real reckoning to realize that as an American, you used to sit in your house and you'd see the news, something happening in some third world country where children were being targeted. Number one, you have to realize white people, you're now experiencing what black and brown people have been experiencing the entire time of the United States of America. And number two, your country is now aligned with other countries that favor the erosion of civil liberties above and beyond anything else to benefit millionaires and billionaires.
You know, I look at that many troops or ICE agents dressed in fatigues with their masks on at a discount store, rounding up kids. And the answer to your question, do they think their kids are better? Do they think their kids are special? The answer is yes, because this administration, starting with the pro-life movement, where they don't give a shit about the kids once they're born, they give absolutely all the deference and cover to a pedophile ring, and a pedophile protector. They're all fine with that. They're fine when it's the president doing it. They're fine when it's their pastor doing it. They're fine with kids in Gaza being murdered because they think they're special. They think the rules don't apply to them. And these people are going to have to answer for this in their lifetime at some point, because I hope that the future looks back on this generation of our age group who have kids right now and says, where were you? Why didn't you stand up against this? Because the answer to your question is, Jennifer, they don't give a shit. As long as it's not their kid, they don't give a shit. And you can see it from every policy in every Republican administration. And this one stands out because they're protecting pedophiles.
Okay, moving along, here is Stephen Miller on Venezuela. And it's really important to understand what's going on in Venezuela right now. Number one, it's a wag the dog type situation to keep people their eyes off the Epstein bombshell, because that is where some final fissures in this authoritarian regime are going to come from. But also, you have all these oligarchs that are all about raiding and robbing other people and other countries of their natural resources. And of course, here's Stephen Miller talking about doing illegal shit and putting U.S. troops in Venezuela. Play the clip.
Letitia James pleading not guilty today. Would the administration consider putting U.S. troops on the ground in any capacity inside Venezuela?
Well, I would refer to what Secretary Higgs said yesterday in terms of how the Department of War is viewing the issue of the strategies that are being used to fight these terrorists in the Western Hemisphere. And I'll just continue to reiterate what I've said before. I know that you want more detailed answers than I can provide, but these are terrorists and they're going to be killed. Thank you very much.
Okay. And then lastly, you want to know, why is Stephen Miller talking about putting U.S. troops, boots on the ground, which is wildly unpopular with the American public. After Vietnam, Middle East, Iraq, Afghanistan, all this shit, everybody's sick to death of these stupid wars. So why are they so obsessed with this? Well, we can look back to just a clip of Kanks less than a year ago on the campaign trail and what he said he wants from Venezuela. Play the clip.
We're buying oil from Venezuela. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
Okay, so this works with the MAGA base because they have that same entitlement that, oh yeah, we should just have that oil. We are entitled to that. And also the reason why this episode starts with ICE and ends with the Venezuela is there's a through line here. And the through line is racism. Donald Trump, from the time he descended down the escalator as a politician, obviously for decades, he's been on the record of being a racist. He has prioritized anti-immigration racism, specifically focusing on Latino people. And this through line of saying that they're rapists, they're drug dealers, they're robbers, all of these things, helps them with a propaganda war and convincing their base that it is useful to go boots on the ground. And it's useful to commit war crimes by killing fishermen in the ocean for no reason other than to try to look like you're a badass. But they have demonized and dehumanized this particular group of people so much so that Americans that are MAGA triple Trumpers, it doesn't bother them. They don't feel we killed fishermen. They don't feel that because they feel like somebody who speaks Spanish and somebody who has brown skin is somehow trying to suck off of them. When in actuality, the people who are sucking off of them is Kanks, Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos. Those are the people who right now are keeping the economy propped up and keeping the stock market looking like it's doing good because they're just trading billions of dollars at the top of it. 7 companies back and forth. And so this is a time where you can find out who are the good people in your life. Do the people in your personal life stand up for all human beings, or do they only stand up for a few Americans, a few select white-skinned Americans? And that really is the question before us today. And we have to start setting an example in our personal lives, on this channel and everywhere, that none of us are free until all of us are free. And you have to stand up for the most marginalized. That's how you can tell if somebody is a good person. Who do they fight for? Who do they stand up for? And too many Americans, because our culture has been unapologetically individual. We're going to promote the individual. It's all about the individual. And we have abandoned collectivism entirely. You have so many Americans, sadly, that see people that speak Spanish and have brown skin as inhuman pumps.
Yeah, they do. And the dehumanization has always been from jump with Black people and brown people. But now you see they're turning the knives on U.S. citizens, liberal white women. They're coming after everybody. But what jumps out to me in reviewing this last week of news, I see Trump talking about killing people, Hegseth talking about killing people, Stephen Miller talking about killing people. These guys love the idea of killing people. I mean, you would think taking somebody else's life would be thoughtful, that it would have to matter. But these guys are willing to kill people for optics and because it makes their dicks feel bigger. And it is a sad state of affairs that the entire United States is not standing up against this regime and saying, you just don't get to kill people you don't like because it makes it look good for you. It's stunning to me how many people are straight down the line with murdering people.
Well, I do want to say that I think the majority of Americans, and polling shows this, oppose this. But that 30%, that 35% is they feel so victimized, and the administration does a good job pumping out the propaganda. Yes. But I will say that I firmly believe that they are in the minority and that the majority of Americans embrace multiculturalism. Yeah, we still have 35% of white asshole bigots. There's no question about it. They exist. And then you also have people that aren't necessarily bigots as a default setting, but love money so much that they're fine with bigotry, which to me is even more insidious. But we have people that are standing up right now, but the most important people that could stand up, the people who could stop this altogether, are these MAGA Christians in Congress. And they could end all of this right now. And they are overtly Christian. They are overtly, loudly Jesus Christ followers. And they are the ones that have the power to stop this. And they refuse to do it.